Hello, Sarah. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you doing this morning?
Woo, it's been a whirlwind, but all things considered, I'm doing well. Thank you.
Okay, good. So the edit sort of started us down this road of Sabaya and Caleb being a duo on Lulu. But then we discovered that it was really kind of you and Sabaya. Can you describe from your perspective the relationship dynamics?
Yeah. Oh, such a good question. So getting to Lulu, day one, we're all talking, we're kind of, trying to figure each other out. And I just was able to make this really real connection with Sabaya and Caleb right off the bat. And we were talking like the three of us. I mean, we'd wake up early, we'd go to the beach, watch the sunrise, and we'd talk every morning, like, all right, it's us three to the end. Here we go. And then we keep losing tribal. People are going, Hannah's left, Brandon's left. And so we get to the point where we're thinking, I think Sabayo is thinking, what does this look like, us trio moving forward? And Sabaya and I had, we talked about Caleb, Sean, Sabaya the whole time, but Sabaya and I had separate conversations of like, you're my number one. And she was
Mhm.
saying, Sean, you're my number one in this situation. And it just kind of like continued, those relationships continued to develop. I just ended up getting closer with Sabaya in that relationship. And then she, said, I think we should get Caleb out. I was like, I think it's too early. I don't know. But then the more we talked about it and the connections that he was making over at Reba and how he could
Mhm.
potentially bring those in going into a merge situation. I mean, that was scary. Like Caleb is a big social threat and physical threat. He's a threat in like all, definition of the word. And so then we ended up moving forward with that idea to get Caleb out.
Right. Okay. So you got the vote. You think you got Emily in. You're sitting at that tribal, and you are totally blindsided. And Sabaya is leaving the game. Talk me through that blindside for you.
Oh, I was not expecting that at all. Not at all. And even, I mean, Emily and Caleb pulled it off in like masterclass way. Like it was absolutely amazing. I respect and like give them kudos because as a Survivor fan, like wow. Um Even during tribal council, it didn't show this, but like Emily would turn to me at points and she'd look at me because we were sitting in the back and she would be like, we're good, right? We're good. Like Sean, please, we're good. And it was so like deserving of like an Emmy and Oscar award-winning performance by both Emily and Caleb. And so I was completely blindsided and watching Sabaya leave. I mean, you can see it on my whole face. I was gutted. I was shocked and also like confused. And I was like, what am I gonna do?
I also have to mention because that was an iconic tribal. You're roasting an idol. She says, "Canteen, you're running over with the water." I mean, was there a part of you that was like, "This is ridiculous. What is happening? This is great TV."
Oh my god. I was like relishing in the moment. Like, oh, this is so good. I was like, and it's gonna end with a Caleb blindside. I'm like,
Right.
yeah, exactly what we planned. I was just like on top of the world in that moment. And then when Sabaya was voted out, I went from being on the very top to the absolute bottom. And it's like, oh,
Yeah. I have to say, you're Cancer, you're one of our few water signs of this cast. And you really did bring those emotions at tribal. Your
oh,
face, you cry, everyone's leaving you. I
I
mean,
know.
that was appreciated.
Thank you so much. I mean, yeah, if I've learned anything from this experience, it's that I wear my emotions right here. And you know what? Like, it's a cutthroat game. And that's what I love about Survivor. It is cutthroat. And there's so much complexity to the game because you're forming these very real relationships with people. I mean, Lulu Tribe, like, that was my family. We were like trauma bonding out there, like, and then so watching Hannah leave and Brandon go and Sabai, I mean, like it was very emotional. And it's like, yeah, I know this is the game of Survivor. That doesn't mean it's still not hard. And so thank you for validating my emotions.
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, poor Lulu as a whole. But let's talk about the swap. I mean, part of you had to have been like hoping for it, but I'm sure also in the moment it's pretty wild and crazy. How are you feeling at that time?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was like, please, please, I will do anything for a swap because I was at the bottom of the, Emily Caleb thing. And so I was like, the only way I have life in this game is if there's a swap. And my survivor wishes were granted. I got a swap. I was the lone newcomer going into an all Reba situation. And so I was like, okay, this is where, I've got to turn on that power of connection that I know I have in me and be able to make some real, relationships out there so that I can further my game. And so for me, it was like, all right, I got this opportunity and now I've got to maximize it.
So after the immunity loss and you start into the tribal scramble, how were you feeling? Were you genuinely connecting with the ladies and making this move against Sifu?
Yeah, I mean, there's an element of like self-preservation. So in that way, like maybe, it's not as genuine as like it, what I would have liked it to be. But I did feel like I was really connecting with the Reba girls out there. I mean, we had many conversations and they like really assured me with confidence Sifu is going to be the vote. Sean, we trust you. We want to move forward with you. And so we're going to be talking at Tribal like it's you that's going home, but just know that it's going to be Sifu. And so I mean, that was my game move, that was my gameplay at the time. I'm like, well, this is what I got to work with. And so here we go. And I did. I really felt like going into Tribal, Sifu was going to be the vote.
So we do see you have a moment with Sifu on the beach, and you kind of are like, they're really tight over there. Was this you trying to make something possibly work with him?
Yeah, I wanted to keep all my options open. And so I was like, hey, Sifu, like, if you want to work with me, I'm here. I was trying to like drop those clues, but he was very cagey. It seemed he was just kind of like, yeah. He wasn't giving me much because I think, he wanted to stay Reba strong, and I get it. I love Sifu. He has like, I had the time. Sifu took such good care of me. I mean, he was such an amazing host when I went to Reba. He made me breadfruit. He brought all the laughs. And Sifu and I had a very beautiful moment on the beach where we talked just very personal things that wasn't shown on TV. And so I love Sifu. And he still didn't want to work with me gameplay wise. And that's okay. And I knew that, but I had tried at least.
Right. Okay. So you've said going into this tribal, you think you're safe. You're believing what they're saying. They're going to vote out Sifu. So when does it flip for you?
Whew. Oh man, it was. And you know what? I mean, I can understand how confusing it would be for the viewers at home because it was confusing for me in the moment as well. I had fully like gone into Tribal, like wanting to stay in the game. Like, I will be your loyal alliance member. I'll be your pizza or whatever you want to stay in this game. And so for me, it came to a head when Jeff asked that hinge question. And I'm not blaming Jeff at all. Jeff is asking all the right things. He's being like the perfect host of Survivor. And but for me, it was that hinge question of, Sean, if it's your night tonight and you're going home, what has this experience meant for you? And for me, that was like this opportunity for me to really reflect and share my core purpose of going on Survivor, which was this idea of reclaiming lost time. And, I wanted to win the $1 million. I wanted to be the sole survivor that I intended to, for sure. But my core reason for going was this idea of reclaiming lost time. And I had realized that that was an impossible ask of Survivor and Jeff to say, hey, rewrite my past for me, please. that's not something that can be done. But that was my mindset going into this game. And so when I realized that Survivor had fulfilled the measure of its creation for me and the purpose of why I went, that's when I became so at peace with this idea of leaving. And so that's when I had that very emotional moment of, like, hey, I'm okay with going, vote me out.
Is part of you in this moment just softening the blow a little? Like, if you are going to be voted out, you sort of get to control the narrative with
I
this
think
statement?
I totally understand why people might think that way. I didn't think I was going home. I
Mhm.
really did think this whole time it was Sifu that was going home. Um, Again, for me, it was that realization of, I came out here. I had an amazing 9-day experience. I met incredible people. I've loved my Survivor experience. I love Jeff, the Survivor crew, everything about my experience. And I can still be at peace with like this idea that, hey, Survivor wasn't fulfilling what I initially thought it was going to. Now, I will say, if I'm being honest with myself, with the viewers at home and everyone, after coming home now and reflecting on my experience, I wish I could have been more flexibly minded in that moment to be able to say, yeah, Survivor's not fulfilling this core purpose, but now I can still stay and I can still play this game as a Survivor super fan. I was just so hyper focused on this idea of reclaiming lost time that I lost sight of being able to play the game. And I ended up getting myself out. And so I do admittedly have regret over that. And that's okay. I can have that regret. I can sit in that regret. I have to find a way to live with that. And I wish it could have been different in that moment.
Well, you're not the first Survivor player to have any regret about their game. I think that's fairly typical,
Yeah.
but this is a unique regret to have. That's an interesting thought and statement. It's almost like redefining the reclaim your lost time, coming to that realization that Survivor doesn't reclaim lost time, but like, how can you redefine that for your journey moving forward?
Exactly. And that's what I wasn't anticipating. Like those emotions, I just wasn't anticipating all of that to come up. And in such like a public moment at tribal council. And so, yeah, I think I ended up blindsiding everyone,
Yeah.
including myself.
Yeah.
So
Well, I wish you had phrased it a little differently, or people follow Dee's footsteps and just keep you and say, oh, well, I mean,
yeah.
that would have been interesting. I doubt you would have like pulled the trigger if they had kept you that night, right?
Exactly. Tribal council, I've always felt, is the way you go out of this game. I feel like that's the appropriate way. And I mean, looking back, if I ended up staying and working with the Reba girls, I probably would have come to that realization, given a little more time to reflect on my experience, that like, I can stay in this game. I can still play a kick-ass game and be like really, really, all in and be okay with this this idea of like, I don't need to reclaim lost time. I need to just I don't need to erase my past. I need to embrace it. And now I can move forward.
Right. So looking back over the entire experience, what does Survivor represent for you?
Yeah, again, like I have loved my experience as a fan of the show since the very beginning. I've wanted to be on the show, and to have this opportunity means the absolute world. I learned some very valuable life lessons, and I just have nothing but admiration and respect and love for the entire Survivor crew, for Jeff, for the castaways that I got to play with. And so for me, it's a dream lived and earned. And I will reflect on my Survivor experience for the rest of my life.
And your tribal speech was emotional and beautiful. I wish it wasn't overshadowed by going out, but it's such an important message that you shared, and I hope that people did hear the live your truth part of it, because that's beautiful and necessary in this world.
Sarah, thank you so much for saying that. That means so much to me. Yeah, and I hope over time people can recognize that as well. Again, admittedly, I wish I could have been more flexibly minded in that moment, and I ended up getting myself. But the message I feel very good about. Live your truth, and I stand by that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks. Bye, Sarah.